Hope everybody's doing well today. Last time we were talking about Levittowns, and you can see we said that these houses were mass produced in major quantities. And Levitts, there are other construction companies coming here, and for around $8,000, you could buy one of these houses, or you could pay payments of $58 a month, $90 towards the down payment. Um, these houses were great investments. For example, my grandfather bought one of these houses back in the 50s, and that house today, my uncle lives in it today, is worth over $250,000. So that's how he turned $8,000 into 250,000. These houses are very simple. A lot of them one story, 12 by 9 living room, two bedrooms because everybody was trying to have two kids. But a lot of people have more than two kids. You're also going to see tile bathroom, garages, small backyards, front lawn, and a third of the population will live in these suburbs by the 1960s. And as you can see, that figure is right here, 30.7 in 1960. By 1970, the majority of Americans are living in a suburban area. And you can see the trend towards rural areas. 40s is almost at 50%, but then by 70, that number is cut nearly in half at 26.4. Central cities seem to stay about the same. That's because people in rural areas are moving into central cities, as well as people in central cities moving to suburbs. So it kind of all equals out. And like I said, everybody was trying to have the nuclear family, uh, father, mother, who would stay at home, take care of the kids. And most families had 2 to 3 kids. Talk about consumerism. People are going to be buying a lot of stuff, and the women are the ones that are going to go in there buying what's needed for the family. The father is supposed to go out in the 1950s, earn a paycheck, give it to his wife. She goes out there and she pays the bills and she buys what's needed at the house. Now, a key reason for this was that a lot of money was made in World War II. People saved that money and now they're ready to go spend it. And you're going to also see more disposable income is going to increase your spending. So the more money you have in your pocket, more you're willing to kind of like go ahead and spend it. Some people find it very hard to save, especially when they've been doing it for so long. And also, babies. Babies cost a lot of money. And people in the marketing business realize this. They said all babies are potential consumers. So let's go ahead and start mass producing things that babies need. And as they get older, we'll figure out what they need after that. And so people go out there, they buy things that they need for the household to take care of their family and their babies. Now, as the Americans are going out there, they're buying things that are going to be more modern. You see some of the more smaller radios. You're going to see Tupperware for the first time. People are like, hey, we can hold our stuff in plastic. Good idea. You also see new types of dresses coming out. The styles are starting to change a little bit. Dresses are starting to come up a little bit. The men are still kind of wearing button-up shirts, ties, and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the big one is going to be the TV. TV is really going to change how people see things and do things and get their information during the 1950s and especially during the 1960s. Now, TVs, 12 and a half inch screen cube that you can see right here. Um, it's not really that great compared to what we have today, but it was something. Everything was in black and white. And for 179.95 plus tax, you could get it in your house, shipped to you, everything else, installation, all that kind of stuff will be extra. And we're talking about something that's probably bigger than your cell phone, but probably right around the size of a tablet as far as your viewing area. But you see here, this the whole contraction to run it was huge. And now our TVs, they take up a lot less space. They're a lot thinner, more energy efficient, and everything else that goes along with that, and a lot higher quality. Now, the last thing that the producers counted on was goods eventually becoming obsolete, wearing out, and so they're thinking of what's the next step going forward. And again, what you're going to see here in the 1950s is that they want women to feel American. They don't want women also when they're going out there buying stuff, buy stuff that looks like this because they're saying that's what the Soviets wear. They want the American woman to look a lot slimmer, dresses a little bit shorter, match their hats, things like that. And also that the war is over, the workplace is starting to change a lot. Unions are starting to gain some power, and they eventually will achieve a lot of power by the middle of the 1950s, but they're going to run into some problems because of this guy right here. His name is Jimmy Hoffa, and he runs what is known as the Teamsters. They are involved in a lot of mob activity. A good movie to watch on that is on Netflix called The Irishman. It's a long movie, but very good. Check it out. You can kill 3 hours of your day right there on one of these boring quarantine days. So, right after the war, a lot of people started going on strike because there's no need to build all these goods anymore, and they know it. They know that they have power over the companies, and they say, "Look, you're going to give us some things that we want. We played by your rules because we were in the middle of a war. Now the war's over, and the government says, okay, you want to act up? We're going to come out with the Taft-Hartley Act of 1947. This gave the government more control of these labor unions. In order to form a labor union from now on, you have to wait 60 days after you file your paperwork. It also outlaws any type of closed shops. And it also states that individual states could regulate union shops as well. But then eventually the labor unions start to snowball and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then by 1955, you had the AFL and the CIO, the Congress of Industrial Organizations, join up. They merge. And of course, we were just talking about Jimmy Hoffa is going to be the guy running this stuff. He's going to have a lot of trouble running this once he goes to jail for a while. And when he gets out, he's always constantly fighting with the mob. And the Teamsters are eventually going to go away. They, according to some, still exist. I don't know if anybody's watched that show on Netflix called Ozark, but the Detroit Mafia is in there. And a lot of people say that that is the remains of what the Teamsters were. Now, Eisenhower realized that Jimmy Hoffa was becoming a problem. He realized he had too much money tied up with the mafia as well. And so Hoffa is really going to become a target of the government underneath the Landrum Griffin Act of 1959. And this is basically going to tighten control over the AFL CIO union or merger. And it did give them power to go into other things or other unions, but they chose to really focus on him. Now, all unions will suffer. A lot of membership will start to decline because of this, but that will eventually start to turn around as things go on. And we all know that Jimmy Hoffa will not make it out of this alive. We're also going to see some other changes. Well, the first thing is that men are going to be doing less work and machines are going to be doing more work. That is known as automation. Factory workers will decrease by 4.3% in 10 years from 47 to 56. That's roughly a cost of 1.5 million blue collar jobs. Easy way to know what type of a job, as far as color wise, is that you think of blue, you're putting on some kind of a work suit or something like that. You're going to go out there and maybe work on a machine. If you're putting on a white shirt that has a white collar, you're probably going to be somewhere at a desk. So by 1956, we're going to see more white collar jobs than blue collar jobs. More people are going to be working from behind a desk compared to actually working with their hands. And then we're going to see computers start to come out. The Mark I comes out in 1944. This is the first computer. Now that computer was huge. It's probably, imagine the size of the classroom. And for a computer to be that large, it didn't have a lot of power. Think about this. You have a flash drive. Your flash drive is more powerful than that first computer that was as large as the entire classroom. It's pretty crazy. You also can see IBM start to get into the mainframe computers by 1951. And then you're going to have the cars. Everybody wanted the cars in the 1950s. And everybody was trying to figure out how can we make better cars? How can we make them more exotic? How can we put the big fins on them? All that kind of stuff. And so you're going to see the cars become a really huge icon of the 1950s, just like they were in the 1920s. You can see here, by the 58, you got these Cadillacs coming out. They're pink, got these huge fins on them. And you're also going to see the start of some very iconic cars, like the Chevy Corvette come out in 1959. This is because people are starting to notice that some of these young kids may be growing up and they're looking at their parents' cars and saying, I really don't like that. And so they want people to become invested in these sports cars. In 15 years, as you can see here, the amount of cars registered doubles and then some. You go from 25 million to 60 million. So there are 60 million cars registered in the United States at that point in time. You're also going to see two family cars are going to double from 51 to 58. It's because the mother needs to get out of the house and the father needs to go to work. Well, two cars solve that problem. We're also going to see the driving culture start to happen. McDonald's opens up in 55. And as you can see here, for 15 cents, you can go there, you get you a hamburger, get your fries, get you a cold shake, drink, whatever the case may be, for 15 cents. Also, I'm sure that food was a lot better than what it is today. You're also going to see people start to open up places like Howard Johnson's. I've never heard of a Howard Johnson. If you have, let me know. But then we're also going to see something that's kind of went away today. We have these drive-in movies. Now there are people trying to bring them back, and they do work in certain areas. But you could drive your car and watch your movie on one of these big screens right here. We're also going to see the television. We talked about the rise in the television. In 46, there were only 7,000 TV sets in the United States, and you probably only had 1 to 2 channels at most. And a lot of places couldn't even pick up those channels because they were out of range of the TV station and the powered antenna. In 1950, in 4 short years, that number would jump up from 7,000 to 50 million. That is a huge jump in that amount of time. By 1960, 9 out of 10 families owned at least one television set inside their house. Like I said, a lot of these people that don't have them probably don't have power quite yet in their area because electricity has not reached everybody. These TV stations will not reach everybody. Also, many of the programs that come out are going to be focused on American values like truth, justice, the American way. This was a huge hit in the 1950s with the Adventures of Superman. Lasted for quite a while. We have shows, as you can see here, mother, father, all together, daughters, sons, that kind of stuff. And that's the Donna Reed show. Had a very successful run from 58 to 66. I've never seen an episode of it. I have heard of this one called Leave It a Beaver. That was from 57 to 63. Same kind of thing. Then we get here, Father Knows Best. And that was kind of like the saying during the 50s. Everybody listened to the father. The wife knew her place, and everybody else just listened to the father. If you weren't doing that, you probably were considered a juvenile or some kind of a delinquent. And then we can see here the Hosea and Eric show. Now, I've never watched either one of these shows either. Never even heard of them. If you want to go watch them, by all means, go for it. I'm probably just going to continue to live my life without watching a single episode of it, just like the Tiger King show that's on Netflix. You can see here that this gives you a very broad view of what it was like to be middle class in a suburban type of lifestyle. So that's what these shows are focusing on. Teen culture is also going to change. We're going to see the word teenager come into the American language, not just the American language, but the English language and all across the world because everybody was having large amounts of children. And you had these large groups of children all becoming the same age at the same time. So they're like, let's just call them teenagers. Now, the word teenager is defined as a person anywhere between the ages of 13 to 19. Well, yeah, I can see that because 12 doesn't end with teen. Makes sense. Now, these were things that you were expected to do if you were going to be a good teenager. Obey authority, control your emotions, don't make waves fit in with the groups. So just whatever the group's doing, go along with it. That's not always the best thing in my opinion. And of course, they don't want you to ever think about sex. Sex is a bad thing. They don't want you to do that. So overall, they are very conservative. You're also going to see what is going to be called race music, which was pretty much jazz. And that's going to kind of be combined with rhythm and blues. And you're going to have a brand new type of music that everybody is either going to love or freak out about in the 1950s. That's known as rock and roll. And that's pretty much going to finish it for today. Continue to work on your journal posts, any late work, anything like that. Let's get it in. Let's get credit. Stay safe. Stay at home. I love you. Take care.